Madam Speaker is the proper way to address Nancy Pelosi since she took command of the House of Representatives this past Thursday. Just one day later, she took time to chat with us about the past and the future.
I now call the House to order on behalf of all of America's children.
Nancy Pelosi capped her comeback this past week, surrounded by children. The California Democrat elected, once again, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives.
You've become the most powerful woman in American history.
That's funny, isn't it? Sadly, I was hoping that we would have an American woman president just 2 years ago.
Well, that didn't happen,
No.
but Speaker Pelosi is the most powerful woman in American history and the most powerful woman in American politics, but you can't make the government open.
Well, the Speaker has awesome powers, but if the President of the United States is against governance and doesn't care whether people's needs are met or that public employees are paid or that we can have a legitimate discussion, then we have a problem, and then we have to take it to the American people.
Nancy Pelosi, I extend to you this gavel. Thank you.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi ushered in a new era of divided government.
If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government.
In the midst of a government shutdown, 800,000 federal government employees furloughed or working without pay. National parks and museums closed.
Oh, we're going to build the wall. Don't worry about it. We're building the wall.
President Trump is demanding $5.6 billion to fulfill his campaign promise of a wall along the Mexico border.
You can call it a barrier, you can call it whatever you want.
Pelosi has vowed to block any funding to build it. A tense standoff between the president and Democrats at the White House Friday lasted 2 hours.
He said he'd keep the government closed for a very long period of time, months or even years.
Did you say that? And
I
is
did.
that your
I did.
Is that your assessment of where we are?
That. Absolutely, I said that.
Was that bluster, hyperbole, or do you think?
Well, I hope so, but the fact is he has said it again and again.
Are you recalibrating your assessment of how you can work with this president?
Well, let me first say that our purpose in the meeting at the White House was to open up government. The impression you get from the president that he would like to not only close government, build a wall, but also abolish Congress. So the only voice that mattered was his own.
Pelosi is described by friends and foes alike as a master legislative strategist.
The House will come to order.
The first woman elected Speaker of the House in 2007, she was a fierce critic of then-President George W. Bush. But Pelosi rounded up Democratic votes to help him pass an economic bailout package. Pelosi again delivered the votes for the Affordable Care Act in 2010, which Republicans derisively called Obamacare.
God bless you, Speaker Boehner.
And that fall, they retook the House. Nancy Pelosi is arguably the most galvanizing and polarizing figure in politics.
Pelosi's San Francisco values are wrong.
Another two-faced Pelosi liberal.
She would not argue, having been featured in thousands of attack ads.
Pelosi's wrong. It's time to change Washington.
You go into the arena and you understand that you will be a target. And that isn't anything that should keep you out of the arena. And so I always say to women, just be yourself, be who you are.
Did you learn that from the experience of being a target?
Yeah, I think so. If you're effective, you're a target. There's just no question. So they have to undermine. But that doesn't bother me. That's their problem.
Would you vote for Nancy Pelosi for House Democratic leader?
No.
This fall, she even faced a revolt from members of her own party.
A matter of having new leadership.
Who called for a new generation of Democratic leaders to take on President Trump.
Nancy's in a situation where it's not easy for her to talk right now.
But going toe-to-toe in a televised standoff with the president may have helped seal the deal.
Please don't characterize the strength that I bring to this meeting as the leader of the House Democrats who just won a big victory.
And she left that White House meeting in shades and a flaming red power coat that made her a social media celebrity.
House Democrats are down with NDP. Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi, the one...
Result? On Thursday, many of her staunchest critics,
Ryan Pelosi.
ended up casting votes for Nancy Pelosi.
Pelosi.
Counting votes is in her blood. She was born the daughter of a congressman, later the longtime mayor of Baltimore, Tom D'Alessandro. She was the youngest of 7 and the only girl. Married at 23, she had 5 children. While active in politics, she didn't begin a political career until age 47.
My youngest daughter, Alexandra, was going into senior year, so I went to Alexandra and said, Alexandra, Mommy has a chance to run for Congress, but we have 1 more year at home, so I'm hesitant to do that. If you don't think I should go, I won't, and I'm happy with that decision. And she said, Mother, get a life. What teenage girl wouldn't want her mother out of the house 3 nights a week? Well, I had never heard the expression, get a life, but then I did. Here is the very straight line from the center of the Capitol, Washington Monument, Lincoln
3 decades later, she once again has the top job in Congress and the best view in Washington, a Capitol on edge.
Will the next Congress be remembered for impeachment, or will they be remembered for something else?
We will talk about what we talked about in the campaign, for the people. Lower health care costs by reducing the cost of prescription drugs and preserving a pre-existing condition benefit. Building bigger paychecks by building the infrastructure of America.
So not impeachment is not high on your agenda.
That would be depending on what comes forth from the special counsel's office. If and when the time comes for impeachment, it will have to be something that has such a crescendo in a bipartisan way.
I just want to start off by congratulating Nancy Pelosi on being elected Speaker of the House.
On Thursday, the president had some kind words for Pelosi.
And I think it's actually going to work out. I think it'll be a little bit different than a lot of people are thinking.
President Trump hasn't given you a nickname that I know of.
No.
And to me, it means one of 2 things. Either he doesn't regard you that seriously that you need a gotta cut her down nickname, or that he has some respect for you.
Well, in either case, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that he recognized that the Congress of the United States is the first branch of government, that we're a co-equal branch of government, and that we are in this, represent the people. And that when we go to the table to speak with him, we're respectful of the branch that he represents, the office of the president, and we want him to be respectful of the branch of government we represent, co-equal.
So you have to remind him of that periodically.
No, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. It isn't so much about him. It's about the office that he holds, the presidency of the United States. Sometimes I think I respect the office he holds more than he does.
As the first woman elected Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi's place in history was already secure. But her defining role in history may lie ahead.
If Hillary Clinton had won and Affordable Care Act would be safe, I would have been happy to go home. I have options.
You would have retired?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would retire. I would have gone home. Yeah, I mean, I see my role as more of a mission than job tenure. And when the mission is accomplished, then I can have that satisfaction that when I was needed to get the job done, I was there to do it.